Sooner than later, visitors to Oregon are reminded of the old Oregon Trail. Its historic signs are found everywhere as a perennial reminder of Oregon's young history. It was American President Thomas Jefferson who ordered his former Secretary Lewis and Lewis's friend Clark to find an overland route to the Pacific Ocean. The pair left St. Louis, Missouri, in May 1804 and walked, rode horseback, and canoed to the Oregon coast, which they eventually reached 1.5 years later in November 1805. Some of North America's most rugged and spectacular terrain unfolded across Lewis and Clark's eyes. Its natural beauty is the result of eons of geological movements that have imprinted the region with lofty mountains, deep gorges, rocky shorelines, and mighty rivers. Their journals sparked a wave of migration from the east that followed their trail, the Oregon Trail. The settlers, who followed the Snake and the Columbia rivers, were faced with a difficult choice: either to pay the exorbitant $50 fee to float a wagon down the dangerous rapids of the Columbia River, or to climb the treacherous Barlow Pass on the flank of Mount Hood to finally reach the fertile Willamette Valley, where they could earn a free land grant of 140 hectares. I too wanted to discover this huge territory that was annexed to the Union in 1859. And so, 101 years after Lewis and Clark, I set out to make my 4,500 kilometers Oregon Trail. Starting from Oregon's northwest tip, Astoria. The fur trader Jacob Astor founded Astoria in 1811 as a trading post at the mouth of the Columbia River. The best view of the town can be enjoyed from atop the 164-step spiral staircase of the Astoria column, encircled with bas-relief friezes paying homage to the Pacific Northwest history. Lewis and Clark built Fort Clatsop, not far from here, where they spent the 1805-06 winter making moccasins, preserving fish, and exploring the surrounding area. They soon discovered the fascinating beauty and wilderness of the Pacific coast. Not far from Astoria, to the south, Clark discovered a creek and named it Ecola, the native term for whale. Clark, with a group of explorers and an Indian guide, had hiked over Tillamook Head to reach what is now Cannon Beach, in search of a whale that had been washed ashore. Clark was the first explorer who stood at the edge of the Pacific and watched the crashing waves from the headland. This area is known as the graveyard of the many ships that have been lost in these treacherous waters. A 335-meter basalt headland, viewpoints look across raging surf to Tillamook Rock Lighthouse, built in 1880 and decommissioned in 1957. Today it looks deceptively peaceful, but it was known as the Terrible Tilly, as waves and storms continually washed through the structure. A very long beach stretches to the south of the Ecola Park. It is Cannon Beach, a coastal resort famous for its Haystack Rock, one of the tallest monoliths in the world, towering 72 meters. To the south, Highway 101 climbs the edge of Neakanye Mountain and offers more exciting elevated views, hundreds of feet above the ocean and the coastline of Garibaldi and Tillamook. Nature is the main attraction of the Three Capes scenic route. Lush forests of gigantic Sitka spruce trees that often grow forming odd shapes, like this one resembling an octopus. Or the incredible views from Cape Meares. Which is also home to colonies of nesting birds and home to a historic lighthouse.
Cape Meares Lighthouse. This is a Fresnel lens of the first order. It's the most intense lens that you'll find on the coast. The signal from this particular lighthouse was a red flash every minute that lasted approximately 4 seconds. And the sailors at sea from their ships could see this light 21 nautical miles out to sea. The difference between this and Heceta Head is that this is the Oregon's shortest lighthouse. It's only 38 feet tall, and Heceta Head is the tallest lighthouse on the Oregon coast. They both do have Fresnel lenses of the first order. Heceta Head is still an operational lighthouse, whereas this lighthouse was decommissioned by the Coast Guard in 1963.
My trail along the Oregon coast continued to reveal more wonderful secrets. At Cape Lookout, I followed a trail passing through old-growth forests and discovered beautiful cliff-top viewpoints, and with some luck I even spotted a wild resident. At Cape Kiwanda, near Pacific City, I could enjoy several sea-level viewpoints of waves crashing on massive sandstone cliffs. And there were more spectacular aerial viewpoints of the coast near Depot Bay and Cape Perpetua, until I reached Heceta Head. High above the surf rises a working lighthouse, first lit in 1893, that has a beacon that can be seen 21 miles out to sea. It is the brightest light on the Oregon coast. As well as the most photographed lighthouse in America. Between Flores and Bandon, sand dunes have created a desert-like landscape. And the wind has sculpted craggy rocks into odd formations rising from the sea. And this is the magnificent Oregon coast, the perfect start to my long trail. Infamous changing weather is a characteristic of Oregon. The Pacific currents ensure wet and mild winters and pleasant summers. Moving east, the temperate Willamette Valley yields a bounty of fruits, vegetables and wines. On the eastern plateau, temperatures dip below freezing even in late spring. This is how Crater Lake appeared in May. The collapsing of Mount Mazama after an eruption 7,700 years ago created the lake. Even the Paulina Lake, one of the deepest in Oregon, and the Paulina River had not been totally cleared by the winter snow. But still sparkle amid the splendid black lava landscapes of Newberry Volcanic National Monument, which was formed by a series of eruptions about 600,000 years ago. Moving east, I entered the central mountain region, where inland deserts showed the first signs of a dry, hot summer. At Smith Rock, the Crooked River flows beneath towering rock faces of welded volcanic ash that was compressed under intense heat and pressure. The park is a paradise for risk-taking rock climbers, but the less intrepid, like me, can enjoy the spectacle from roadside viewpoints. Prehistoric fossil beds litter the John Day National Monument, which comprises 3 units. The Clarno unit contains some of the finest fossil plant remains on Earth. At Shiprock, visitors can explore formations dated from 16 to 6 million years, and I was lucky to join a group of students guided by a knowledgeable young ranger.
But really never any of the arms, legs, any of the head material at all. And if you want to figure out exactly what species of turtle or tortoise you're dealing with, you have got to find some parts of the skull, or even better yet, an entire... But that's really, that's kind of the fun stuff that paleontologists get to do. They get to think about the stories that have to do with these animals and plants and how they interacted with each other. And we think about those kinds of things in terms of the way that plants and animals interact with each other today.
It was Thomas Condon, a young frontier minister, who recognized in 1860 the John Day Basin as a scientific treasure, and the 3rd unit, called Painted Hills, was a highlight of my Oregon Trail. I was truly fascinated by a magnificent display of most dramatic landscapes. These are volcanic rock formations with vivid hues of red, pink, bronze, tan and black. The colors are produced by different minerals. The rust-colored layers are rich in iron oxide. The yellows are a blend of iron and magnesium oxides. The black marks are primarily colored by manganese oxide. The amount of moisture causes ever-changing tints of reds, buffs, yellows and other colors. The clay of the Painted Hills retain water so well that most plants are unable to grow. A closer observation reveals the characteristic clay structure. What a fantastic display! Some of the wildest terrain in North America clings to the sides of craggy 9,400 feet peaks at Hell's Canyon, at the Oregon-Idaho border. and plunges to the famed basin far below, where the Snake River rushes through the world's deepest river-carved gorge.
I like Hell's Canyon because of the rich history and the history of the Indians that lived there and the homesteaders, and of course the whitewater is incredible.
From the most eastern part of Oregon, my trail moved west through what was originally the land of the Nez Perce Indians, whose chief is buried at the foot of the Wallowa Mountains. Chief Joseph was a great warrior and a leader of his people, who bravely fought against the U.S. cavalry in 1877. The original Oregon Trail crossed the area of the majestic Mount Hood. Here, in 1930, President Roosevelt inaugurated the luxurious and warm Timberline Sky Lodge, a beautiful hotel decorated with massive wood beams and a good example of comfort in those old times. Driving through the Columbia River Gorge encompasses a diverse sampling of Oregon scenery, including the banks of the river as it flows through a magnificent gorge. Its treacherous rapids, once a nightmare to pioneers, have been replaced by the Bonneville Dam, a massive hydroelectric power station built in the 1930s. The historic Columbia River Highway follows the river. This narrow road was blasted out of steep cliffs in 1915 and was designed to maximize the view and yet respect the harmony with natural elements. Breathtaking 360 degrees views of the gorge and of the mountains can be enjoyed from the Vista House Observatory, an historic octagonal structure perched above the river. Since the 1880s, travelers keep visiting the Multnomah Falls. The falls tumble 620 feet, and it doesn't take long to appreciate why this place attracts many tourists and is the most visited natural setting in Oregon. The Columbia River Gorge is a place where the lasting pleasures of contact with the natural world are available to anyone willing to admire nature. My Oregon Trail could not exclude the state capital Portland, a town that grew up as a major port along the west bank of the Willamette River. In spite of its traditional humid and wet climate, Portland gives a good impression for its careful urban planning and for preserving a charming small-town atmosphere. And this was my Oregon Trail, more than 2,800 miles across the state. Of course, this was nothing compared to the much longer journey of Lewis and Clark in 1804. The pair walked, rode horseback and canoed all the way. I was driving a comfortable car. They had to hunt and fish and sometimes beg or fight Indians for their survival. I could choose excellent steaks and seafood specialities in all sorts of restaurants. But we both could enjoy and share the same abundance of dramatically different landscapes, from sandy beaches and wave-eroded headlands to mountain ranges with beautiful gorges and spectacular waterfalls, ancient volcanic lava lands, scenic overlooks, rushing streams, mountain lakes, dense forests, fertile valleys, dry lands and desert landscapes. Thank you, Oregon.